To get started, we're going to take a look at the layout specification sheet from our Design in Plain Sight project. In looking at this sheet, we know that the width is 17 inches wide and the height is 13 inches high. Our margins are set to 0.5 inches all around and 0.5 inches in between the images of rows and columns. Our pictures will fit into a 5-inch by 5-inch box with a title space area that's 5 inches wide by 0.5 inches high, which is separated from the image box by a 0.25 inch margin. So let's get started. Let's get our rectangle frame tool. Click once on our screen to pull up the rectangle dialog box, and we're going to type in 5 inches by 5 inches because that's our image size. And once we do that, we press OK. And then with the selection tool, we're going to move this to our top left corner to match our 0.5 inch margin all the way around. We can go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste to duplicate this box. But in my case, I'm going to use the shortcut key on the keyboard to click this box and duplicate it by holding Option on the Mac or Alt on the PC, and you click and drag. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to resize this box to be the height of our text box. So we're reusing what we have to create our text box, and then we're going to drag that and snap it right into place below our image box. Now we need to try to figure out the size in between the text box and the image box, which is 0.25. So I could use my ruler to try to figure out this 0.25 area and try to count the little tick marks on the side, things like that. But really what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this box as sort of like a measurement tool, because I already know that this box is the same size as, 0.5 high and 5 inches wide. So what I need to do is I need to change that to 0.25, put it in place, and then I can just slide this text box right up to where this 0.25 matches this the height of this new measurement toolbox that I've created. Okay, next we're going to take this tool that we created and we're going to duplicate it by holding Alt, and we're going to duplicate this shape, and we're going to use this as our 0.5 measurement shape. So we're going to make this a 0.5 by 0.5 measurement shape so that we can use it as a spacer in between the rows and the columns in our layout. So we change the size, and then we'll bring it next to our box here, and this gives us the distance in between the rows and the columns, and basically we can just move it from the top and bottom. And then once we do that, we can use our rulers from the side, drag it out from the left right there at the edge of the box, drag another one out from the left, drag it all the way to the outside edge of the spacer, and then we go from the top down, and basically we're setting up our guides so that we can place and duplicate the rest of our text box images in our rows and columns based off of the layout specification. So the first thing we'll do is we'll use our spacer to finish setting up our guides, and then we'll select the image box, hold Alt or Option to duplicate it, and bring that down to our next guide. And then we use our spacer to put that in place for the 0.25 section, and then we'll select the text box and duplicate that down into position so that we know for certain that this is 0.25 distance apart from the image box. Once we do that, we can move the shape off to the side, and then we have 4 elements that we can use to duplicate once we place the rest of our guidelines, and then we can select each one of our image and text box to duplicate into our other columns. But we're going to use the spacer to create this distance between the next column. But first, let's add a stroke to these boxes so we can see what they look like. So we need to add a 1-point stroke, and from here, what we'll do is we'll press W to hide our guides, W to bring the guides back. We can select our image box, and basically when we press W, we can see that we have the lines around it, so when the guides are hidden, we can actually see our boxes. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use our selection tool to select these boxes, and we're going to duplicate by holding the Alt key to make our next column to the right. So hold Option or Alt, click and drag, and it snaps to our guide. And now we have our second column, and we're going to do the same thing for the third column. We're going to grab our spacer, put that in place, use our guide to make our second guideline, and then we're going to duplicate these shapes to create our third column. So we're going to select the image box and our text box by holding Shift, and then we'll select all four of these items, hold Alt, drag to our right, and snap that into our guidelines. Now we're done with our layout. We can use this spacer just to double check to see if all the margin spaces are equal, 0.5, 0.5, and then we can just move this off the artboard and press W on the keyboard, and this is our layout. Now let's add some images and text.